Scripture that it was declared a holiday to celebrate mothers. But we need to remember that we're here today to celebrate Christ. That's what it's about. But we do give honor to our mothers because they are important in the family, the work of the church, and so many things that if we didn't have good Christian mothers involved, we would have a lot more difficulty. The Bible has much to say about honoring mothers in general, and some mothers in particular. And no one, as it says on the screen, is more deserving of honor than godly mothers. In Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, it says there, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." Thinking about that, children, obey your parents in the Lord. And we need to make sure that, young people, that you understand the importance of that. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. "Honor thy father and mother, for this is the first commandment promise." You know, today in our society, I'm seeing more and more children who do not honor their parents, especially their moms. Now, let's stop there for just a second. Go back and say that has a lot to do with how they're being raised. And mothers, you need to understand that responsibility of instilling discipline into your children so that they understand that they are to respect their parents. And also teach them respect other people. Again, that's something that seems to be going away in many homes in our country today. In Matthew 15:4, it says, "For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curses father and mother, let him die the death." And so God saw that it was important that the respect and the honor be given to parents. In Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 22, it says there, "Hearken unto thy father and unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old." This is again something that God is determined that this be understood by those who would be His people. And today, as we say above all, today is the Lord's day, and we honor God as we do each Sunday. Well, God, whom we honor some women especially, and especially those who are mothers. Matthew 1:18-25. This is a great passage of Scripture here. It talks about how He honored Mary in the fact that she was going to be the mother of the Savior. In Matthew 1:18-25, it talks about how that coming of the Christ was to be coming through that one called Mary. He bypassed the normal way of conception as we know it as human beings, but He could just as easily bypass motherhood altogether. But He chose to bring Christ into the world through a woman. Well, He chose to honor her by allowing Him to bear His Son. The question is asked, how do you define the word mother? Well, simply being able to conceive and give birth to a child does not make someone a mother. So, well, yes, it does. Well, maybe in a physical sense. But mother goes beyond just being able to conceive a child. There have been women in history who have conceived, even in our world, who conceived children, but they cared nothing for them. That's not really what a mother is all about. Simply having children does not make one a mother. Sidney Harris, a journalist from years gone by, said the common fallacy among women is that simply having children makes one a mother, which is observed as observed. Okay, y'all see what that word is? As believing that having a piano makes one a musician. And I have to agree with what he said, because that is absurd. Mothers are more than that. Mothers are so much more than that. What is a mother? Well, we look at the word mother. Mothers are a model of love. And I'm having some technical difficulties this morning because what you're seeing on the screen, this is not the way it's supposed to be looking. And so I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm going to push the button and we'll all go with it, okay? When God wanted to find something in which He could compare love for His people, He chose the love of the mother. Isaiah 66:13. As one whom his mother comforted, so will I comfort you. You shall also be comforted in Jerusalem. And so when God was talking to his people and wanted to know how much he cared for them, what did he go to? He went to the mother so that they would understand the compassion that he had for them, the love that he had for them. When he wanted to find something to compare his love to his people, this is where he went. And a lot of times in God's Word, if you'll notice, he gives us examples of things that we can understand, so that we'll be able to lock on to what he's trying to get across. And this was what he was trying to show them. He loved his people. Our Lord compared his love to that of a mother hen. I love this passage here in Matthew chapter 23, verse 37. I've talked about it several times down through the years because in my mind I picture our Lord standing there with tears running down his cheeks. He had come to the world and he had suffered those things and was going to suffer those things he knew. And as he was talking there, down through the years that God had worked with people through the prophets, and they had sinned and turned their back on God. He had given the 10 Commandments, and they followed that for a time, and they got further and further away from God. Then Christ comes, and he's preaching, repent for the kingdom at hand, and so few people listened to what he was saying. And now he says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them that are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, and even as the hen gathereth her chicks under her wings, and you would not." You see, the love of that mother hen, when that storm comes, now I know some of y'all probably never seen this anywhere, but when there's danger coming, that mother hen makes that little cluck or whatever she makes, and those little chicks come running, and she spreads those wings and she covers them. She's going to protect them. So whatever it is may get her, but she doesn't want to get her chickens or her chicks. Well, that's why God said, Jesus was saying, this is what I've done for you, but you wouldn't do it. Mothers love enough to go through the sorrow of childbirth. And Genesis 3:16, which is soon replaced by the joy of holding that little one. How many times have we heard or seen of it? I remember the scene of the giving of birth and knowing of the pain that's there. But when that little child is laid across its mother's breast, and the smiles begin and the tears begin to flow. You see, a woman when she's in travail has sorrow, the word says, John 16:21. Because her hour is come. But as soon as she delivered of the child, she remembered no more the anguish for the joy that a man is born into the world. The blessing of motherhood. The blessing of having mothers who are willing to endure all this so that life can be present. Just a side note to this beautifulness of life that God has given him, and those who will take that life away. You need to understand the sin that's involved in this sin that's in our world today, this idea of abortion. That's not the lesson this morning. Solomon, in his wisdom, once used a mother's love to protect an innocent child. Now, over here in this blank spot, there's a picture of two women before Solomon with a sword, and everything's right there. I just tell you it's there. And I just realized what I did. When I got here this morning, this computer had everything looking, I don't know what color it was, but it wasn't pretty. And so I changed the background, and that's what I did. I covered everything up. So y'all just imagine what it looks like. Solomon, in his wisdom, made a decision between two women. The two women that were harlots came unto the king and stood before him, and one woman said, "Oh, my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day that after I was delivered, this woman was delivered. And also, as we were come together, there was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from me, and while thy handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. When I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. And when I considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living son is mine, the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and living my son. Thus they spake before the king. Can you imagine having that kind of decision to make? Solomon, in his wisdom, the king said, the one that said, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. The other said, Nay, but thy son is dead, my son is living. The king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king, and the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other. You know, I first of all can't imagine making that decision. But the mother of that child who was still alive, notice, didn't expect the mother whose child, the living child, was, and the king for her vows yearned for a son. She said, oh my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. The mother's love was there. Yes, I want my son, I do, but I don't want him killed. You just give him to her. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. Her child was already dead. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. You see, there's that strong love coming forth that some in the world don't even understand today. They were willing. Solomon knew the real mother would stand up, and she did. Paul commanded the older women to teach the younger to love their children. Titus chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. You see, this idea of motherhood is a theme throughout the entire Bible, and how mothers are supposed to be. And we have examples, as we did there with Solomon. In Titus it says, the aged women likewise, that they in behavior is becoming holiness, and not false accusers, not giving them much wine, teachers a good thing, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children. You know, this is a doctrine, this is a thought that in the Lord's church today is lacking severely. Older women teaching the younger. There are a lot of reasons for that, and I've heard them all. I've heard older women say, well, the younger women won't listen to me. And the younger women sometimes say, well, they're always trying to tell us what to do. Well, they're supposed to when it comes to these things. Older women are supposed to tell these things. And by their example, younger women need to look to older women to see how they love their husbands. That's why older women, you need to make sure that you're being the wife that you're supposed to be. That you're in subjection to your husband, that you're there for your husband, to stand beside him and be with him through thick and thin as you promised in your vows, because the younger women are looking at that. But you see, to love their children. Today in our society, sometimes it's difficult to see that children are being raised as they ought to be raised. Now, I understand we live in a society today where it takes at least 2 incomes in order for a household to exist. In most every case, it's very difficult when it doesn't happen. Sometimes 2 and 3 jobs have to be had because of that situation if the mom does stay home. But even if the mom doesn't stay home, she still has a responsibility to love her husband and children. A love that's got to be shown. Direction that's got to be shown. No one in the world loves more than a godly Christian mother. That statement goes unchallenged. Because a godly Christian mother knows that, first of all, mothers are selfless. They put their children's welfare ahead of their own. Just like the harlot back there in Solomon's day, being a mother, not the harlot part, but the mother, she was willing to give up her child. Mothers today need to understand this. True mothers, those mothers who stand out, who are really godly mothers, are selfless. They don't think of self first. They put their family before them. Mothers wash clothes and see they're installed on wiggly little bodies in a somewhat decent manner. When I read that statement, I think of always on Sunday morning getting children ready. Because I see you bringing your children in here, and I'm glad you do, and I'm so happy that you do, mothers. And their shirt tails out, their ties that are out, their dresses that are up where they shouldn't be, and all these things are happening. I know they were perfect when they got in the car, but things happen. But see, you did that. You did that because you knew they needed to be here. Mothers cook green things. Well, some of you do. Cook green things that won't be appreciated when they're on their children's plates because you know they're good for them. You see, here's what things that mothers do. You know, I've cooked some in my time, and when I cook something and it's not appreciated, it kind of bothers me. But mothers have to face that all the time because their kids just don't want to eat those things. Mothers make up beds and they teach Sunday school. They're not perfect, but in all they do a good job. You see, here's a Christian mother. Yes, she has things she does outside of the world, but she realizes the importance of being a Sunday school teacher and showing that example to her children and instilling in them that desire that no matter what happens, I still want to be a servant to God. I want to be a servant to my people. They work tirelessly to see that their families are happy and fed. And you know, this is something that I remember so much in mothers is and growing up and seeing the mothers and being here. Mothers who do all these things do it, and they never once claim glory for it. They never once blow their own horn and say, look at me, what a great mother I am. No, they just keep doing those things time and time again. They care for those children. They care for their husbands. They even work outside the home. They do all these things. They come and they put their hands to the Lord's work and they do all these things, but you don't see pride. You don't see any fingers being pointed back towards themselves. It's always glory to somebody else. Those godly mothers, we've got to be thankful for them. They get embarrassed when their children mess up and laugh with them, but never at them. You know, if you have children, you think they're going to be perfect, you need to come talk to me. I got a lot of things to share with you. Not things my children will always want me to share with. But you know, children are just children, they're that. And godly mothers remember that, and they remember to laugh with them and not at them. Every mother. Now this is from Irma Bombeck, and I don't usually quote a lot of people in my sermons, but I really like what she said here. And I don't know a whole lot about her. I'm not holding her up, so don't get me wrong. She titled this, Every Mother Has a Favorite Child. Said she can't help it. She's only human. I have mine, the child for whom I find special closeness, with whom I share a love that no one else could possibly understand. She said, my favorite child is the one that was too sick to eat ice cream at his birthday party, who had measles at Christmas and wore leg braces to bed before he towed in, who had a fever in the middle of the night, the asthma attacked the child in my arms at the emergency room. She said, my favorite child spent Christmas alone, away from the family, was stranded after the game with a gas tank on E, and lost the money for his class rent. Some of these things sound familiar to y'all because I see you smiling. These things have happened. My favorite child is the one who messed up the piano recital, misspelled committee in a spelling bee, and ran the wrong way at the football game, and had his bike stolen because he was careless. My favorite child was slammed the doors in frustration, cried when she didn't think I saw her, withdrew and said she wouldn't talk to me anymore. My favorite child is the one who got punished for lying, grounded for insensitivity to other people's feelings, and informed that he was a royal pain to the entire family. Yeah, I've heard that. My favorite child always needed a haircut, had a hair that wouldn't curl and no date for Saturday night in a car that cost $600 to fix. My favorite child was selfish, immature, bad-tempered, was self-centered. He was vulnerable, lonely, unsure of what he was doing in this world, and was quite wonderful. All mothers have a favorite child. It is always the same one. It's the one who needs you the most, that moment. Who needs you for whatever reason, to cling to shout at, to hurt, to hug, to flatter, to reverse charges to, and y'all don't understand that, but we used to have reverse charges on cell phones. We didn't have cell phones. To unload on, but mostly just to be there. And that was what she said was her favorite child. Mothers endure a lot of those things, but they understand that God wants them to raise that child with all the love they can possibly muster. And you young moms, you're going to see those doors slam sometimes, and you're going to get looks, and you're going to get sighs, and you're going to get all those things, but when it's all said and done, if you raise them properly, with God in mind, they're going to love you and remember you all the days of their lives. Mothers are models of love. But not only that, they're the oil of gladness. Now, over there on the left side of the mother, there's a woman standing there, just so you know. Y'all can't see that. Thou lovest righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. Psalm 45:7, the psalmist was writing here about someone and talking about how this oil of gladness was given to them by God. But Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 9, it says, Thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Therefore God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. Mothers, it's important that you realize your role in this operation of God. You are the great example set before your children. If you're hateful and unloving, if you're uncaring, your children are going to see that. They're going to be just like you. They're going to be just like you. You need to make sure that you have that oil of gladness. And you're known as being one who is there in time of need, and you're there with love and understanding. Not with justifying everything that's done. I've dealt with parents down through the years, and I know there's some moms whose children never did anything wrong. Never. It didn't matter if they were holding the bag when somebody said they stole the bag and the children were holding it. Oh, mom had a reason why it wasn't her child. It's not what I'm talking about. A godly mother is full of the oil of gladness because she loves her children, but she's there also to discipline her children and to show them the right way. That's part of this oil of gladness. The father's the head of the house, but the mother's the heart of the home. You got to understand that. Young couples, people just starting out, you may not get that yet, but you will. The mother's the heart of the home. Now, most of y'all know me. I'm a reasonable guy. Anybody in the world can talk to me, but believe it or not, there came a time in my boys' life when they thought they couldn't talk to me. I couldn't understand that. But you know who they talked to? Yeah. Same one you talk to at your house. They talk to their mom. You see, that heart of the home is there. And it's such a wonderful relationship that mothers have with their children. And we're so blessed to have godly mothers in this congregation who are raising their children as they ought. Yeah, Dad, sometimes it feels like we're on the outside looking in, and that's okay. Just make sure we're still the head of the household and directing things, and we know what's going on. Mom will tell you what they're talking about if she needs to. And believe me, there's some things you just don't want to know. But Mom will take care of those things, and she's the godly mother she needs to be. Mothers are the thermostats. They control the temperature in the home, acting as a lubricating oil to keep friction down. Because moms can talk to the dads, and moms can talk to the children. And moms, you need to make sure that you keep that idea in your mind. Now I'm going to put something up here in a few minutes. Mothers and teachers are good things. Well, tell you what, I missed something right there. We're going to have to stop because the rest of it's not where it needs to be. But as we think about mothers today, I want us to, we're going to finish this sermon this afternoon, and I'll straighten everything up. We think of mothers, we've got to realize the responsibility that they have. And dads, help your mothers, help the mothers as they work with the children. Be there for them in the home, encourage them in what they're doing and the things they're directing. We think of mothers in the home. We think, first of all, of those that we read about in the Bible. There are many we're going to talk about this evening. But as we think about what they do, think about their responsibility to direct and guide those little minds. And dads, you may say you love your children, and you do, but understand, moms have a way of loving children and helping them, but we're just not going to be able to. Now, some of y'all have already realized this. When a child's hurt, that child, dads can pick them up and hold them and hug them and squeeze them, but guess what? They're looking for mom. But when things go wrong in their life, many times they're going to be looking for mom. That's why I'm so proud and happy that we have godly mothers here in the congregation working together as we all work towards going to heaven. Today, if you're here and you're not a child of Christ, I encourage you to obey the gospel today. Become a child of God. Put on Christ in baptism. You believe in the Lord, He's the Son of God. You're willing to turn from your sins, to confess His name, and to be immersed in water and have your sins washed away. That's God's plan. That's the plan that's been in God's Word from the day of Pentecost on. Is how we obey the gospel. And then to live faithfully all the days of our life. You know, we've spoken a lot about moms today, and I'm going to speak more this evening, but in all those things, we realize that the godly mothers are those who are following God's way. The dads and others, if you're here today and you're not following God's way as a child of God, come home and ask for His forgiveness.
I am resolved